At 6:01 p.m. on today, August 18th, 2020. Roll calls taken. We have Mr. Zurfluh. Are you present?
Alderman
And Mr. Kubitschek?
Are you present? Right, we got it, okay.
Okay, and Mr. Katna is excused. The next item is Pledge of Allegiance and Silent Prayer.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. Next item is the reading of the minutes from the previous meetings held on July 21st, July 24th, and August 6th. What are your wishes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. All three of them.
I have a motion by Mr. Zurfluh, seconded by Mr. Kellogg. Any further discussions? Seeing none, please cast your ballots.
Alderperson Coe, how do you vote?
Affirmative.
Motion carried, 7 ayes, 0 nays. Next item is my appointments to various boards and committees. And I was going to email you, and we found an error in the appointment. And let me bring it up. Can't find which one it is. We don't have it as an attachment, do we?
No, Emily said you were going to email it.
No. Then I think we should probably just hold it over till the next meeting. It was, the new appointment. Yeah, we'll actually get that corrected since it wasn't attached, and we'll take it up next month.
Okay.
So our next item is consider a resolution extending the emergency declaration proclamation regarding the COVID-19 pandemic.
Hold on. Hold on. Got it.
Okay. What is your wishes, council?
I'd move to continue it till the next full council meeting.
We have a motion by Zurfluh, seconded by Kellogg. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. And Mr. Colt?
Affirmative.
Thank you. Motion carried, 7 ayes, 0 nays. Our next item is the consideration for adoption the actions of the Planning Commission that met on August 3rd. The Planning Commission met at 5 p.m. on August 3rd in the City Council chambers and via video conferencing. List of attendees are on file in the clerk's office. The meeting was called to order at 5 p.m. Item 1 was approval of the reports for the July 6th Plan Commission meeting. Motion by Bemke, seconded by Hanson to approve the report from July 6th, 2020 Plan Commission meeting. That motion carried 5 ayes, 0 nays. Item 2 is Plan 20-0559 Disher Residential LLC, Jeff Disher, for a request to register a non-conforming fitness use general service within the M1 General Industrial Zoning District at 1421 Pepper Avenue, parcel ID 3412380. It was moved by Bemke, seconded by Fee, to approve the plan 20-0559 Disher Residential LLC, Jeff Disher, for a request to register a non-conforming use, fitness use, general service within the M1 General Industrial Zoning District at 1421 Pepper Avenue, parcel ID 3412380. That motion carried, 5 ayes, 0 nays. Item 3 is Plan 20-0553 Disher Residential LLC, Jeff Disher. Public hearing on action on a request to convert a non-conforming use to a daycare use within the M1 General Industrial Zoning District at 1421 Pepper Avenue, parcel ID 3412380. The public hearing was called to order at 5:14 PM. There was no one speaking in favor or against the proposal. The public hearing closed at 5:15 PM. Motion by Blazer, seconded by Bemke, to approve the plan 20-0553 Jeff Disher. Request to convert a non-conforming use to a daycare use within the M1 General Industrial Zoning District at 1421 Pepper Avenue, parcel ID 3412380. That motion carried, 5 ayes, 0 nays. Number 4 was Community Development Department's discussion on an amendment to the Land Use Matrix, Appendix A within the zoning code regarding the review required for certain commercial and industrial uses. There was no action taken. Item 5 was adjournment. Motion by Bemke, second by Hanson to adjourn. That motion carried, 5 ayes, 0 nays. Meeting adjourned at 5:22 PM. And what are your wishes?
I'll make a motion to approve the planning commission minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Bemke. Seconded by Mr. Veneman. Any further discussion? Mr. Reel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a couple questions on it, not necessarily speaking against any of it, but on daycare use, is it, other than the plan number changed, is this the same that we did it in July? And that was rejected
Try to think.
by unanimous vote?
Is Kyle on, Tyler?
This is,
Other than,
hello, can you hear me, guys?
yeah,
Yes, we can.
So this request was essentially the same that was made in July. However, there was a different request. So they had requested to register the adult daycare, and in the zoning code, you actually have to register the previous use prior to converting the use. So they now in August are requesting to register the fitness use with the intent to then convert the fitness use to the adult daycare use. And so essentially it's the same request. It's a different set of procedures within the zoning code that would allow them to do that. And staff is recommending approval.
okay. And like I said, not necessarily speaking against it, but I guess just a couple other questions. Is this to be an adult daycare or what? Because through most of the minutes it says daycare, but then there's one spot where it says adult daycare, and I'm just wondering what it is. And along with it, I guess we found a way to, for lack of a better word, maybe circumvent the system to do something. And also in here it says about what the location area has changed into, that maybe rezoning should be looked at. And the question, I guess what I'm getting to is that shouldn't we really probably be looking at to rezone this before we do anything? If that's the intent down the road. I mean, this is other than we couldn't do it last month because of the fitness center part of it, now because it's going to register as that, then they'll be able to do it. So somewhat the system has been circumventing the system, but are we really getting to the end result? And that's to me it looks like that if it's followed through with anyway, is that in a few months we'll be hit with the thing to rezone that from industrial. and that's what it was because of the facility that was on the other end of the block at the time before the apartments were built. So that's, I'm just wondering if somewhat, like I said, I'm not necessarily speaking against it, but I question, I think, the route that we're going with this. That probably the rezoning, if we had done that, we wouldn't have to, they wouldn't have to register as a fitness center first and then go to daycare. So I guess that's the comments I have. It just seems like we're somewhat doing things that we didn't have to do maybe to come up with maybe the same end result, if that would be the end result. But in here it does say about, that we should be looking at, or not looking at, maybe I'd have to find the exact minutes here, but to rezone that in the future. So, if that's the intent, why don't we bring that up as the thing to, maybe to do first, and then move on, and then the things, I think, could fall more into line of, I guess, to me, what I'm looking at, because basically it's the same thing from last month, which was denied. There was, all we did was change the plan number and did something in a different way. Instead of, in most cases, what we do when somebody wanted to change how something was voted on, they'd have a reconsideration to bring it back to do something with. And that was not done, so I question if we're doing it the right way. I question that to get the same end result is that maybe we should do the other way and look at it if we want to rezone the property and then go from there. Because that's, I think, what's going to be coming anyway. So it's, with that, Your Honor, I'll let that for right now go.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kearns, correct me if I'm wrong, the applicant does not want to rezone, and that's why the process went this way. If I'm correct, Kyle?
That's correct. So there's always been two options for the applicant in the zoning code. One is to register and or convert the use, and the second option is to rezone. Both have been provided as an option to the individual. The difference between last month and this month is that originally the individual requested to register register a daycare use because they claimed that a daycare use previously existed. However, as more information became available from the YMCA, it was clear that the previous adult daycare use was an accessory use to the primary fitness use, meaning that technically speaking, the non-conforming use was the fitness use that previously operated as a principal use, not the ancillary daycare use. The daycare use was really just a drop-in daycare type facility for individuals that wanted to work out, and then they obviously would take their children with them when they left. So they weren't licensed by the state. And they didn't operate as we primarily think a daycare operates. So essentially then, because of that and that information, they did not fit within the confines of the zoning ordinance for registering a non-conforming use. Because the fitness use has not ceased for a period beyond a year, they can still register that fitness use, and then that allows them to go to step 2, which is to convert the fitness use to a less intense non-conforming use. And in this case, in my staff report, I identify those review criteria and my recommendations for identifying that a daycare use is less intense than a fitness use, and therefore recommend approval. But essentially, the applicant could always still request rezoning, but he has indicated that he does not want to do so.
Is there a reason why not to that they would not want to rezone?
I believe he wants to keep his options open for any future potential uses on the property. So whether that's any additions or future uses if the daycare use leaves, I think he sees from a long-term investment standpoint as it being a negative if he were to rezone to a less intense zoning district.
Mr. Kubaschak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had the same concern that Mr. Rayom had with this too, because it seems like it's the same thing. Now, I don't think that it was denied last time because of the merit. I think it was denied because of the technicality. But it's one of those where, I mean, is this a case where we should start looking at properties? If this is zoned industrial and there hasn't been an industrial activity on that corner or adjacent to that, we should be sending parcels like this to the Plan Commission and having them zoned to similar likenesses. This has been a weightlifting facility for as long as I can remember, when it was Bramstowell Fitness, and obviously it was industrial on the corner because of the fiberglass plant, but there's a reason why we did a land swap way back when to get the fiberglass place out in the Industrial Park East, because we wanted to take industrial away from that, because it's a pretty much either residential or business type area. So, I mean, regardless of what the new owner, the potential owner or whatever, I mean, and granted there might be some carryover rights or whatever else, but I mean, this is something that we should be looking at on other parcels, and I understand that we've got a new person in the position, and there's a lot to identify and everything else. So one particular parcel, if it falls through the cracks, but yeah, I mean, this looks, I agree. I think it looks sloppy that we just got a different plan number with this particular thing and we're re-voting on it.
Seeing no further discussion, please cast your ballots. Mr. Koth?
Affirmative.
Motion carried, 4 ayes, 3 nays. Our next item of business is to consider adoption of the standing committees of the council. First one is Finance and Property Committee. Mr. Koth, you going to read it?
Yeah, if you guys can hear me okay, otherwise I'd ask you. So can you guys hear okay?
Loud and clear.
All right. Property and Finance Committee meeting was held by a remote conferencing on Tuesday, August 4th, 2020 at 4:45 p.m. The public was invited to listen to the audio of the meeting. The meeting was live on Wisconsin Rapids Community Media, Spectrum Channel 985 and Solaris Channel 3. All members of the Property and Finance Committee were present. Others in attendance is on file with the clerk. The meeting was called to order at 4:48 p.m. Item number 2, in open session, the committee may go into closed session under section 19.85 para 1 para E of the Wisconsin statutes, which reads, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. A, in closed session, the committee will discuss a proposed agreement with Urkel Worldwide USA Incorporated for the storage of rail cars in Rapids East Commerce Center. B, the committee will turn to open session. C, the committee may continue to discuss the proposed agreement with Urkel and take action on the agreement. It was moved by Colt, seconded by Kubaschak, go into closed session. Motion carried by roll call vote. In closed session, the committee discussed the Urkel Worldwide USA Incorporated proposed agreement for storage of rail cars in the Rapids East Commerce Center. Motion by Colt, seconded by Kellogg to return to open session. Motion carried by roll call vote. Open session, it was moved by Colt, seconded by Kellogg to approve the Urkel Worldwide USA Incorporated agreement as presented. See attachment number 1. Motion failed with Colt and Kubaschak voting in the negative. Item number 3 was consider a referral from the fire department to review 5 people's final facility study results.
Chief Young reviewed the fire department facility study results for 5 pupils with the committee. It was decided to have 5 pupils give a formal presentation to the committee at the next regularly scheduled Finance and Property Committee meeting. No action was taken. Item number 4 was consider a referral from Alderperson Kellogg to review the police department body camera program and update the committee and the council on the program. Chief Blevins and Deputy Chief Kamowski gave the committee an overview of the police department body program. No action was taken. Item number 5 was discuss Labor Day celebration fireworks display. It was moved by Colt, seconded by Kubitschek, to cancel the fireworks display for the remainder of 2020 and to direct staff to work with the fireworks display company on rolling over the current contract to 2021 or work on a new contract for the 4th of 2021. Motion carried. Item number 6 was beverage operator licenses. It was moved by Colt, seconded by Kubitschek to approve the beverage operator licenses. Motion carried. Item number 7, consider referral to Public Works to authorize payment of $63,526.68 in aggregate expenses for the aquatics project directly to the subcontractor to save the city $11,344.05. It was moved by Coase, seconded by Kellogg to authorize payment $63,526.68 to the aquatics project subcontractor for aggregate expenses. Motion carried. Item number 8 was discuss and approve the disbursement of the Aspirants Arise premium rebate. It was moved by Coase, seconded by Kellogg to approve a rebate to retirees for their pro-rated share of the Aspirants Arise premium rebate, deduct city employees' pro-rated share of the premium rebate from their September health insurance contribution, and proceed with the 2020 budget amendment to transfer the employer portion of the rebate from operating accounts to contingency. Motion carried. Item number 9 was discuss and take action on University year engagement going forward. Motion by Coase, seconded by Kellogg to continue the University program. Motion carried. Item number 10 was consider a referral from Alderperson Cantona to review admission rates for the Aquatic Center and discuss and take action on rates for next season. Motion by Coase, seconded by Kellogg to send the review of the aquatic admission rates to the Park and Rec Commission and have a presentation to the City Council by the October Common Council meeting. Motion carried. Item number 11 was audit of the bills. It was moved by Coase, seconded by Kubitschek to approve check number 4532 to check number 5047. Motion carried. Item number 12 was to set the next meeting date. Next regularly scheduled Finance and Property Committee meeting will be held September 1, 2020 at 4:30 p.m. Item number 13 was adjournment. It was moved by Coase, seconded by Kellogg to adjourn. Meeting adjourned at 6:44 p.m. With that, I know item number 2 is going to want to be held out. I will stop here to see if any members of council want any other items held out.
Could we hold out number 10?
Number 10.
Yes.
Okay. Anyone want anything else held out? All right. So with that, I will make a motion to approve the report as presented, holding out items 2 and 10 to stand alone.
Thank you. We have a motion by Coase, seconded by Zerflu. Is there any discussion on the balance of the report? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Mr. Coase?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carried, 7 ayes, 0 nays. Item number 2, Mr. Coase.
I just know that there's a lot of talk on this one, and just wanted to do it as a standalone vote. If anyone has anything to say, I'll let everyone else go.
Anybody have a motion to get things started? Mr.
I'll make a
Kubitschek?
motion to approve item number 2 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion by Coase, to, well, do you want it, the motion would be to approve denying it? Or do you want to make a positive?
I know we're supposed to make our motions in the affirmative, so I will make a motion to approve item 2 as presented.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion by, so the affirmative motion would be to approve the agreement? Oh, okay. Yep. So we have a motion and a second to approve the agreement. Mr. Kubaschak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just as a point of order, would you mind not calling a vote from Mr. Colt? Nothing against Mr. Colt, but like last meeting, we did this too, until everybody's voted first and then asked, just so that there isn't any influence. Thank you.
Yep, sounds good. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Rayon?
The motion is to approve. I vote yes, does that approve the contract?
Yes.
So I have to vote no. I mean, if I don't want to approve the contract, then I vote no.
Correct. Mr. Zerflu?
Yeah, I guess, not having been at the closed session portion of it, but in looking at it, this was just to store hydrochloric acid, which is corrosive, but as I understand, it's not a flammable substance. Is that, but was it just because they're storing that was the concern?
Hydrochloric acid is not flammable.
It's a gentleman from ERCO, and he just said that it would not be flammable. Hydrochloric
It's
acid
not flammable.
is not flammable.
That's how I understood it too. Now, sir, I didn't catch your name, but are these the same type of
sorry.
cars and material that are currently stored basically across from your facility across Highway 73?
Yes, that is. And it's also moved throughout the community as we ship to our customers as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Zerflu. Mr. Kellogg?
I've made a comment in favor of it, but I have mixed feelings now. I mean, the only thing we didn't talk about is safety. And the only aspect of safety, we said there were going to be more patrols. And I talked to a chemist that's familiar with this, with the chlorine, and I guess I have more concern about the safety. And if we went into closed session at some point in time, these aren't fenced in. I don't see any cameras. In fact, I drove over there and I went down the side street and it said gravel street and says, oh, employees only. I went through there, went right up next to the tanks. And I guess I'm concerned that unless we nail down how this is going to be secure, there's an awful lot of tanks there in the first place. Now, are we adding to those tanks? I don't know how many tanks. Let's say, just looking over in ERCO, there must be over 100 tanks behind a fence or something like that. And now we're adding more tanks. And it just seems to me, unless I feel comfortable with the safety aspect, if it's going to be fenced in, if there's going to be more cameras, where are the empty tanks going to be housed? And maybe that has to be in closed session because of security. But until I get those answers, I feel less comfortable with just saying yes. So I'm going to vote no just because of the safety aspect of it.
Just to answer a couple of your questions, this is Dale Woodfork from ERCO Worldwide, plant manager. from a safety standpoint, the product that we're planning to store, would like to store in your rail area is not something that would have to be behind a fenced-in area. It is not a extreme hazardous chemical. The tanks that we store in do not allow items to leak to the ground. Other than that, that's probably the best way to describe the situation in open discussion.
I guess potentially, since this was closed session, you could hold this over to the end of the meeting and go into closed session as a potential option, should you have more questions or concerns. Mr. Kubishak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've also got a concern like Mr. Kellogg. I'm going to vote no because I don't think that we're given enough information on this. This isn't like buying a brand-new fire truck. You know, I mean, there might be a cost to it, and we've got some experts in the room that work at the fire department, but I haven't seen one single MSDS sheet for the chemicals. I mean, we're the ones that are voting on this, right? So why aren't we given all this information? I saw it right there. I mean, just on principle, I'm voting no.
Just to get Mr. Dale Woodfork from the ERCO Worldwide, we delivered 3 binders to the engineering department, city attorney, and public service, so fire and police department. So we have delivered the information to the city for the items that were requested, which includes SDS, our response to these, as well as the information regarding how we would be storing and how we would be monitoring.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Zerflu?
I would be up for a closed session discussion, but I don't know how we do that when there's already a motion made.
Well, everybody could withdraw Mr. Coates can withdraw his motion and so, yeah, if you can by unanimous consent withdraw the motion, and then we can take this up at the end of the council meeting if that's your wishes. I'm sorry. I guess if there's any objections to that? No?
I'll move to withdraw the motion.
So Mr. Coase withdrawing his motion, you good with that, Mr. Kellogg? Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
So we'll hold this item over to the end of the meeting.
In your honor, if we could ask the rep from ERCO to either call back or something,
Yep, we'll,
so we'd have questions for him.
sounds good. Did you hear that, sir?
Yes, I did. Any particular time, or
I think,
I can mute and just monitor the meeting. I don't have other significant plans this evening.
the city attorney said she could email you, or if you want to just hang out on the line, and we'll move the meeting right along.
That will be fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item number 10. Mr. Bemke?
Okay. I don't have a problem with this group going over this referral for the pool, but I believe it should go to the Park and Rec Commission before it comes to this body, let them work through it, and then bring back their recommendations.
I believe that was the result from finance, to send it to Park and Rec for them to,
I believe what it said is, I think it says to us.
to review the aquatics rates at the Park and Rec Commission, then have a presentation to the city council.
I missed that part. I'm good with it then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. I guess we still need a motion to dispose of the item. So we have a motion by Bemke to approve the item as presented. And a second by Mr. Zerflu. Seeing no further discussion, please cast your ballot. Mr. Koth?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carried, 7 ayes, 0 nays. Moving on to Public Works, Mr. Rayom. Leave August 4th.
Thank you, Your Honor. We had 3 reports. I'll do one at a time here, if that's okay.
Thank you.
The Public Works Committee met at City Council chambers and via remote video conferencing on Tuesday, August 4th, 2020. Jake Catnaw and Dean Veneman were present. Scott Kellogg filled in for Tom Rayom. Others attending are on file in clerk's office. Item 1 was to call the meeting to order. Meeting was called to order at 6:48 p.m. after the conclusion of the Property and Finance Committee meeting. There's a motion and second for Alderperson Kellogg to sit in for Alderperson Rayom and Catnaw to act as chairperson. That motion carried. Item 2, conduct assessment hearing for the alley resurfacing west of Elm Street between Mead Street and Chestnut Street and between Chestnut Street and Sherman Street. The assessment hearing was called to order at 6:50 p.m. and closed at 6:53 p.m. Item 3, review the engineer's assessment report and take action on assessment resolution for the alley resurfacing west of Elm Street between Mead Street and Chestnut Street and between Chestnut Street and Sherman Street. There's a motion by Catnaw and seconded by Veneman to accept the engineer's assessment report and final resolution for the alley resurfacing west of Elm Street between Mead Street and Chestnut Street and between Chestnut Street and Sherman Street. That motion carried 3-0. Item 4, review the DPW report. The report was reviewed. Item 5, to review the 1 Mile Creek study Phase 1 and consider moving into Phase 2. There's a motion by Veneman, seconded by Kellogg, to advance the 1 Mile Creek study to Phase 2. That motion carried 3-0. Item 6, discuss developing a large item garbage collection program. Development of a large item garbage collection program was reviewed and no action was taken. Item 7 was to review the referral list, and the list was reviewed and amended. Item 8 was to adjourn. There was a motion by Catnaw, seconded by Kellogg to adjourn. Motion carried 3-0. The meeting was adjourned at 7:43 p.m. And with that, Your Honor, move for adoption of that report.
Thank you, Mr. Rayom. We have a motion by Rayom, seconded by Mr. Kellogg. Is there any further discussion on the report? Seeing none, then, please cast your ballots. Mr. Koth?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carried, 7 ayes, 0 nays. Your next report, sir?
Date of the meeting, Public Works was August 11th, and this will be short. Public Works Committee was scheduled to meet on Tuesday, the 11th at 4 p.m. in council chambers of City Hall and via remote video conferencing. The meeting was not held due to a lack of a quorum. So with that, Your Honor, I think we can just move on to the next report. We don't really have anything to vote on, so.
Okay, we can just adopt them both then and make it a part of the official minutes after your second report, if that works.
I'll move we accept the
Okay. Sounds good. We have,
non-doing.
Hold on.
I think we need to,
There was a mix-up on
on the dates.
notification and whatnot. That item's going to be taken up, I do believe, at our September 1st regular Public Works meeting. So
Sounds good. We have a motion by Mr. Rayom to accept, I guess, the lack of report. And a second by Mr. Kellogg. Probably no discussions on this one. You want to please cast your ballots? Mr. Koth?
Aye.
Motion carried, 7 ayes, 0 nays. Thank you. Mr. Rayom?
Third report, the last one, Public Works. The Public Works Committee met on Wednesday, August 12th in the first floor conference room at City Hall and via remote video conferencing. Tom Rayom and Dean Veneman were present. Others attending are on file in the clerk's office. Item 1 was to call the meeting to order. It was called to order at 4:02 p.m. Item 2 was to conduct assessment hearing for East Grand Avenue from 3rd Street to 8th Street The assessment hearing was opened at 4:03. Shane Burkhart expressed some construction-related questions and concerns related to parcel 34-08123-6. Since these were not assessment-related, they'll be referred to staff. The assessment hearing was then closed at 4:10 PM. Item 3 was to review the engineer's assessment report and take action on assessment resolution for East Grand Avenue from 3rd Street to 8th Street. Motion by Rayom, seconded by Veneman, to accept the engineer's report and approve the assessment resolution for East Grand Avenue from 3rd Street to 8th Street. That motion carried 2-0. Item 4 was to adjourn. There was a motion by Rayom, seconded by Veneman, to adjourn. Motion carried 2-0. The meeting was adjourned at 4:12 PM. And with that, Your Honor, I move for adoption of the report.
Thank you, Mr. Rayom. We have a motion by Rayom, seconded by Mr. Veneman. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Mr. Koth?
Aye.
Motion carried, 7 ayes, 0 nays. Mr. Kubaschak, HR.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What page are we on? I apologize.
What page?
On that PDF for my,
157.
I have a printed copy if you need it.
Do you want a printed copy?
no, I'm fine.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Human Resources Committee met on August 6, 2020, Thursday night at 4:30 PM in the council chambers. All committee members present. Also present was Alderperson Kellogg, Deb Poggle, Mayor Blazer, Attorney Schill, and Tyler Mickelson, our IT guy. Meeting was called to order by Chairperson Kubaschak at 4:33 PM. Item number 2, discuss and consider approval of proposed changes to the HR Administrative Assistant job description. Motion by Bemke, second by Zerflu, to approve the proposed changes to the HR Administrative Assistant job description as presented. Motion carried 3-0. Item number 3, discuss and consider approval of proposed changes to the Senior HR Generalist job description. Motion by Bemke, second by Zerflu, to approve the proposed changes to the Senior HR Generalist job description as presented. Motion carried 3-0. Item number 4, discuss and consider approval of proposed changes to the Executive Coordinator job description. Motion by Bemke, second by Zerflu, to approve the proposed changes to the Executive Coordinator job description as presented. Motion carried 3-0. Item number 5, discuss and consider confirmation of mayor's appointment to the position of Human Resources Manager. Motion by Bemke, second by Zerflu, to confirm mayor's appointment of Ryan Hartman to the position of Human Resources Manager. Motion carried 3-0. And on a side note to that, that was approved at a special council meeting later on the night of August 6, 2020. Item number 6, discussion on employee recruitment. Our HR consultant, Deb Poggle, gave an update on employee recruitment. Item number 7, adjournment. Motion by Bemke, second by Kubaschak, to adjourn. Motion carried 3-0. Meeting adjourned at 4:47 PM. With that, I'll take a motion for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Kubaschak. Motion to approve by Mr. Kubaschak.
He's on there. Oh, sorry.
Wrong screen.
Yep, sorry.
No problem. And we have a second by Mr. Zerflu. Is there any further discussion on the, I guess, the balance of that report? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Mr. Koth?
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carried 7 ayes, 0 nays. And the next item on the agenda is reports of other committees, commission, boards, and departmental reports. So what are your wishes? Mr. Rayon?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a couple questions. I don't think anything that I disagree with, but the chief is here, and I guess with the police chief. On July 4th, it has in your report, enhanced fireworks enforcement resulted in 35 citations issued. The only reason I really bring that up, I know we didn't have fireworks this year by the city, but there sure seemed to be a lot of extra booming and going on for several days before and after. And so if I see the report, I guess I'm appreciative that some citations were issued, but there certainly seemed to be a lot of, and I know people like to have fun in that, so I'm not going to rain on the parade, but there just seemed to be this went on for a long duration, a number of days, and almost seemed at certain times it was going to take place. So I just wanted to bring that up. I don't know if the chief has anything that he'd like to comment on or not. But I appreciate that there were some citations that were given out, and because I think the public, they want to have fun, and I understand that, but there are also rules and regulations of what can be set off, and I think the public somehow between now and when we do fireworks next year, hopefully, that we can further educate the public, I think, on what legally they can do and that type of stuff, because I think there's a misunderstanding in the general public of what actually the people can set off, and I think we need a better system to educate the public on what can be and cannot be used. So I just leave the comments with that. And then I'd just like a comment on the Airport Commission, a couple meetings, June 18th was one, and that it had to, I guess I'd just like to know under old business was the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Rapids and the Airport Commission itself. And this has been talked about for a long time, and I'm just wondering where for sure we are with that, and are we as a council going to see any draft agreement before something would be adopted by the commission or whatever? And I think as this would involve city services. The other one is that on item 2 of that of B is there's a, not to get into what it is, but payments in arrears. I believe on an airport or a hangar rental, I believe it must be. There's a list of pending suits against this going on. Legal action would come at a cost, and recovery of the settlement would be unlikely. Now, where I somewhat understand that, but then it's there was a motion in the past to table this item for 1 year, and I guess a question, and if they answer it, I don't have to have it this evening, but what does that do for us in 1 year? And are there more bills that would come in that wouldn't be paid during this next year? So I'm just wondering, by putting that off, are we accomplishing anything, or or is the tab still running up? So don't need the answer tonight, but if that could be provided, I'd appreciate it.
I can answer them for you.
And I think that's all I have.
Okay. So the first one, the draft agreement, Attorney Schill and the commission's attorney have both looked at it, and we can get you a copy of that ahead of time for you to review. As far as, it's get approved through council. So it's got to go through finance and go through council for approval on the city side and then airport commission side. As for the action or item B, it was for leasing some airport land to plant some crops. So it wasn't an airport hangar rental. So there's nothing that's been incurring since then, just a payment behind. And what we were told is that there's a line of people, and we're pretty far down on it. But the commission wanted to just revisit again in a year.
Okay.
But nothing further is accruing.
Okay.
Good. I don't think we've seen a motion yet, if anybody, Just so interested.
I'll
I'll
make a
move to
mo-
approve.
So we have a motion by Kellogg,
I'll second that.
second by Mr. Zerflu. Good catch. Seeing no further discussion, please cast your ballots. Mr. Koth?
Aye.
So we have motion carried, 7 ayes, 0 nays. So at this time, should I read the closed session language? Okay. Let me go back to that. So at this time, I'll read the closed session language. In open session, the council will go into closed session under section 19.85, parent 1, parent E of the Wisconsin State Statute, which read, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, investing in public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require the closed session. In closed session, the council will discuss proposed agreement with ERCO Worldwide, Inc. for the storage of rail cars in the Rapids East Commerce. The committee will return to, or the council will return to open session, and in open session, we may continue to discuss the proposed agreement with ERCO and may take action on that agreement. What is your wishes?
I'll move to go into closed session.
So we have a motion by Zerflu, second by Veneman. Roll call vote. Mr. Zerflu?
Aye.
Mr. Veneman?
Aye.
Mr. Kellogg?
Aye.
Mr. Rayom?
Aye.
Mr. Koth?
Aye.
Mr. Kubaschak?
Aye.
And Mr. Bemke. So at this time, we will go into closed session. Okay, we are back in open session. Council, what are your wishes?
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with ERCO Worldwide.
We have a motion by Mr. Zerflu to approve the contract with ERCO and a second by Mr. Veneman. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Rayom?
Yeah, real quick, I do believe I'm going to vote against this, and that's just that I would rather wait a month to see if that could be done. Like I said, there's a lot that goes through the city that is very hazardous on a daily basis. But I guess in my own mind, in hearing what I was told, but I guess I would just like to have that extra time to see what could be there. So I'm going to vote no, but that's just, I'd rather wait a month and see.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Mr. Koth? Mr. Koth, how do you vote? Oh,
Nay.
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 Motion carried, 4 ayes, 3 nays. All right, on to our last item on the agenda would be adjournment, I believe. Oh, hold on. Nope, it is adjournment. Thank you.
Hold on.
So a motion by Mr. Rayom, second by Mr. Zerflu. Please cast your ballots. Mr. Koth?
Nay.
Sounds good. Motion carried, 7 ayes, 0 nays. Thank you, everybody, for participating this evening. Thank you. Good night.